Should you listen to every bit of advice that you get? Hello and welcome. And today I will be talking about an insight that I got today. Alright? So, this insight is if you should take everything for face value. Everything you hear for face value. Okay? So, I was at church today and some of the well-meaning women in the group of women I sit with were like, Talar, right? We see what you do and you're doing well, but can you please move away from tarot cards because they have a negative connotation to most people, which they do have a point. They do have a point, and I will take their advice very seriously. Though, in the same token, I would like to say that because it's the idea is that it's not the tarot cards that really tell me what I need to talk about. It's whatever I look at, whatever I experience. So I could have gone through something during my day, for example this, and I will pull something from it and I will be able to share, and I will be able to impart my knowledge, right? Impart my experience and have a lot of people gain from that experience as well. So what I want to stress today is that it's not so much about what other people think as much as it's important that you get down to the nitty-gritty of what you're doing, and you look to see if what they say makes sense or if not. Because what I heard from them, and I respect them very much, is that what you are doing might have a negative connotation on some people because they see it in a negative light. Because they see it in a more demonic way than just you imparting what the divine tells you. Which makes sense. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm just saying that that's their perspective. And like I mentioned, what I do, okay, is that I look at things and I immediately am shown specific stuff, and from that I take lessons, or from that I take things that I will mention and I will be able to talk about more in detail. So the idea not to use tarot cards is not so outlandish, right? The idea here is to use my life experience to impart what I heard, what I learned, and all of that. So that is what I'm going to concentrate on more, is what I really wanted to say. Now, what else did I want to say? So, also, remember, as someone hearing anything, okay, because you will hear a lot of this in spiritual readings or anything along those lines. Take what resonates and leave the rest, right? So it is as much our job as the translators of messages from the divine. Okay, so we translate. If you think about it from the viewpoint of a communication interaction, okay, so you have the emitter and you have the receiver. So you have the person that's emitting the message, and on the other side you have someone receiving the message. That's the way communication is done. Now, in between the emitter and the receiver, you have the translation, right? Or more towards the receiver's bit. They receive the message and they translate it to be able to understand it fully. So the way that this would go is that me, as a receiver of a message from the divine, gets the message, translates it to human talk, alright? And so that's the first bit of the communication. Now, the second bit of the communication is me, I become the transmitter. Okay, so in the first one, the divine is a transmitter. So the divine transmits a message to me that who first translates it, because the divine sends it in the divine language, or coding. So I translate it, and then I go on to the second part of a communication, which is I am the emitter, and I emit the translated version of the divine message, which means that there will definitely be some bits and pieces that will be lost in translation. So it is up to you to take what resonates and leave the rest. That's number one. Okay? Now, when you, in part, receive the message, and then you go to translate the message from your understanding, you then need to take what resonates and leave the rest. Because what happens is that you might not be fully on the level to fully understand what the message was about, right? You might not be at that maturity level, or you might not be at that height of understanding. So if you don't fully understand the message that has been imparted to you, that's probably an indication that that message isn't necessarily for you at that time. It doesn't mean that it'll never be, but it isn't at that moment in time. I hope that makes sense. Right? So in this case, when they say take what resonates and leave the rest, it's a lot of you knowing what you are ready to understand and what you are ready to comprehend and take in and soak in. Okay, so there's a lot of back and forth in this case. So, okay. Now, as much as it's important for us as translators of the divine to be as clear as possible so that the receiver of our emissions can fully understand, we are only human. Okay, the air is human, and I don't know, to make mistakes is human, but to be divine is divine. I don't know. I can't remember the actual line. So I think my neighbor is using a machine. Well, she's prepping food. That's all we know. So, and in any communication, you have to first sit down and think about what you are receiving, because you first have to see who's emitting the message, and then be able to kind of put yourself in their shoes to understand where what they're saying is coming from, so then you can translate properly, right? Because any communication is slightly subjective from their perspective. Not everyone is doesn't necessarily fully put themselves in other people's shoes so that whatever they emit can be emitted properly. I hope that makes sense. I hope. If not, ask questions and it'll be my pleasure to explain, okay? So, that is what I have for today. It's mostly a part of always remembering that you take whatever you receive in any form of interaction, and you then take it and you mull it over in your mind and be like, does this resonate? Does it not? Should I listen to it or should I not? And then deciding if you're going to take the advice that was handed to you. Okay? So, what are you going to do next time you're in front of something you don't know what to do with? Let me know.